Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Reading Arabic with Muna. Today's lesson is about the Arabic letter Dhaad. Dhaad. Dhaad is the 15th letter of the Arabic alphabet. The letter Dhaad is one of the two letters that share the same shape, but Dhaad is with a dot and Saad we took in the previous lesson without a dot. Dhaad can be described as a truly phonetic jewel of the Arabic sound system. Among today's modern languages, no language other than Arabic contains this letter or its exact matching sound. For this reason, the Arabic language is described as the language of Dhaad or لغة الضاد. Now, if we break down the sound, it can be described to some extent as a heavy emphatic variation of the letter dal or the dah sound. And for non-Arabic speakers, they usually hear it as a heavy dah sound. And here I'm giving an approximate variation because the exact sound of Dhaad, it's slightly different than a heavy dah sound, which we will experience later. But just for a comparison, for the learning purposes, I'm comparing it to a heavy dah sound. And we will see in the exercises how we can shift or move from the heavy dah sound to the actual dah sound. Now, if you want to know a bit more about this unique letter, click the link to my blog post in the description. As I just mentioned, this letter doesn't exist in any other language. So, in English, for example, if a name containing Dhaad is written, the Dhaad is replaced by DH and pronounced as D or D sound. This is because the closest sound to a non-Arabic speaker for Dhaad is the D sound. And for the H, it is used here just like in the letter Kha to indicate that this word has a different sound than the standard D in the original sound. So names like Duha becomes Duha, Nidal, Nidal, and Dawiya, Dawiya. Now, as you can notice, we only hear the dah sound and the H is silent, only indicating that this is dah and not da, because Arabic and English, they both have the dah sound. So here we are differentiating by adding the H just to indicate that this sound is originally dah, but pronounced da for by the non-Arabic speakers. And now it's time to practice how to pronounce the letter Dhaad. In these exercises, we'll be hosting Mr. Tryhard. And you all know by now that when we meet him, there will be a lot of exaggeration when pronouncing a standard or a plain sound, like in our case, da and dha. So let's get started. Now, this is a warm-up exercise. We'll be reading 3 words that start with the letter D. Then we will identify 3 different pitches or variations of the dah sound in each word. Now, while we read out the words, I want you to sense your tongue's position when I read each word. So let's get started. Dad, dad, duck, duck. Dark, dark. Now, what did you sense when you read the word dad? Where did you feel that your tongue was positioned? Now, when we read dad, the da sound here, because of the a, this vowel, it is a very plain, basic sound. Da, da. You feel that the tip of your tongue is hitting the upper gum of your teeth. Dad. A quick hit, and you raise your tongue, and then it will quickly get back to its normal position. Duck, duck. In duck, you feel that not just the tip of the tongue, but also a small part of the front of the tongue is stretching and also hitting not just the gum, but also part of the roof of your mouth. Duck, dark, dark. With the word dark or with the d in the word dark, you feel that it's not just a hit, but there's a pause before you lower your tongue. So we moved from the plain sound d with the tip of the tongue, and then we stretched a little bit part of the front tongue, and then we made the tongue stick longer than when we pronounce the plain d. Dad, duck, dark. Now we want to use these qualities for these two words and apply it to the tongue when we learn how to exactly pronounce the letter Dhaad. So let's quickly move from the plain sound, dad, duck, dark. I want you to repeat these words. When you study the sound, I want you to repeat several times until you can feel and sense the difference between the sounds at the same time. Dad, duck, dark. Dad, duck, dark. Okay, so let's move to the dot. Okay, this is an illustration, a top view illustration of the roof of the mouth and the upper jaw. And I just want to say something that this is the only or the best illustration I found. But there's one thing, for some reason, this is not correct. The tongue should be positioned at the center and covering all the roof of the mouth. Anyway, let's get back to the exercise. Now, we said that we have 3 variations of the da sound. Two of them, we want to make use of them. Okay? Now, when we pronounce dad, we used the tip of our tongue and it was hitting this upper gum, right? And then when we pronounced duck, we used a more of the front part of the tongue and it was hitting not just the gum, but also small part of the roof of the mouth. And when we said about dark, that the hitting was paused for a while before the tongue is lowered. Okay, now we want to understand how we can use these qualities and apply it on the tongue to pronounce the g sound. Now we remember when we said that in dad, we hit the tip of the tongue at this area, in this area, correct? Now, for the Dhaad, we cover the roof of the mouth with the tongue. And the point of pressure is not the tip of the tongue, but this part of the tongue hitting these two inner teeth. So the pressure will be at this point. You cover the roof of your mouth with your tongue, and then you pause and pronounce the g sound. So when you say g, the pressure, how do you know that you are pronouncing it correctly? First, you raise your tongue and you stick it to the top of to the roof of your mouth, and then you sense the muscle or your tongue here, this part. You make sure that the edges of the tongue are hitting these points. It will come naturally once you cover the roof of your mouth with your tongue. So instead of pressing or hitting or making the pressure on the tip, you put the pressure at this part of your tongue. So this is why I said when we want to learn about when we compare da to da, we just want to simplify it. But actually, it's not an exact heavier sound. It is slightly different. And the difference here is in the tongue's position. Now, this is important when you want to read Quran. Now, as Arabic speakers, we usually don't pronounce the correct dot every time because we have different dialects. But when you want to learn to read Quran correctly, when you want to recite Quran, you really need to learn how to pronounce the dad correctly. Some people say the. No, it has to be dad. You have to stick your whole tongue at the roof of your mouth, and you make sure that the edges of the tongue are hitting the edges of your inner teeth. So again, dad, duck, dark, da, 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 da. Give it a try. Now let's take a break from this information overload and get back to the fun part as Mr. Tryhard is waiting for us. All I want you to think about now is the exaggeration game. So let's get started. Now here we have 3 sentences. Each sentence have at least one word that starts with the letter D. Now all I want you to do is exaggerate the sound in each word containing D. Okay? Now first I will read the sentences normally in the standard sound. Okay? Don't shut the door. I'm on duty. My dear daughter. Now we want to be Mr. Tryhard and exaggerate the da sound. I want you to read with me. Don't shut the door. I'm on duty. My dear daughter. Again. Don't shut the door. I'm on duty. My dear daughter. So have fun and practice the heavier sound of da. Honestly, I don't want you to be hard on yourself. Dad is a challenging sound and letter and needs time to be acquired. Even for Arabs, when we learn standard Arabic or when we want to recite the Quran correctly in Tajweed lessons, we take time to practice how to master the sound correctly. Now, in this lesson, I explained Dad from two perspectives. First, we started with shifting the sound from the plain to the heavier sound. And this is the starting point where I want you to start. I want you to da, 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 like this. And then I want you to exaggerate, have fun. And then I want you to go back to the part where I exactly explained the tongue's position when you exactly pronounce the da sound. So first you have to familiarize your ears with the heavier sound of the standard da, then you can move to the da sound. This will take time, but it's worth it. So good luck in this. Okay, so let's add some extra challenge here. All the explanation about the letter dot I've been doing was in the neutral sound, da, with the sukun, da. So now we're adding an extra level of challenge and applying harakat. Now in each haraka, we are doing the same thing with the tongue, but adding the harakat. Now the harakat usually will be at the end of the pause and it will be the exit of the sound. Here we just stick our tongues to the roof, stretching it, hitting the inner teeth, correct? ض, ض. But when we apply harakat, we're going to add an extra sound. ض, ض. We are as if we are exiting the sound with not just a pressure. No, we are releasing it with fatha. We're opening ض. We're opening our mouth. After we finish the pressure, we open our mouth. ض. And then with the dhamma, we round our lips. ض, ض. We do the exact thing with the tongue, but we finish after the pressure, we round our lips. ض. And finally, with kasra, we lower our lips. ض, ض. Or as in Arabic kasra, we break the flow of the air or the sound. ض. So we finish up this with kasra, that we are as if we are throwing the sound or making it lowered. It's ض and then ض. We finish it up by lowering our lips. ض. This is why it's called kasra, by the way. So ض, 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 ض. Now let's listen to some words containing the letter Dhaad and notice how this sound blends with other sounds.
اذكري لي يا صديقتي كلمات تبدأ بحرف الضاد. ضفدع، ضرس، ضابط، طبع.
Now we've reached the part of the lesson where we learn how to connect the sound with the shape of the letter, so we can easily memorize it. So let's see how we are going to do it with the letter Dhaad. What is the girl doing, or what mood is she in? Yes, correct, laughing. Laughing in Arabic is ضحك. ضحك starts with the letter Dhaad. And I promise you that in the near future, after you master this pronunciation of Dhaad, you'll be doing a lot of ضحك for the silly idea that you had about it was impossible to master the pronunciation. Now, when you laugh deeply and out loud, all the people around you can see, even your inner teeth. And if we take a close up, we can see one of the inner teeth. This single tooth is called ضرس. Now, why did I choose ضرس? First, because ضرس starts with the letter ضاد. And the ضرس with the neighboring tooth, with the neighboring teeth, altogether they form somehow the shape of the letter ضاد. This closed side resembles the ضرس, and this lower side here resembles the lower side of the letter or the curve here resembles the lower side. But what about the dot? Now the dot, that would be the tooth mite that you should stay away from. So the letter Dhaad is linked to two words, ضحك, and when you laugh out loud, your inner teeth will appear, and then we can see one of these tooth, and it is called ضرس. And the ضرس with the rest of the teeth somehow form the shape of the letter Dhaad itself. I hope this is useful and that you will never forget the letter Dhaad. That was all for today's lesson with the letter Dhaad. That was the longest lesson I've presented since I started the series, but it's worth it. And this is a challenging letter and it will take time to be mastered. Thank you for watching. and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.